The Marriage Walk for Equality is a national event. We do it at the same time as it's done in New York on the Brooklyn Bridge. It demonstrates linking the country in a national network for marriage equality. And that's what Marriage Equality USA is about, building a national network of aware activists who can be the point person and work within their communities to raise awareness and positive attitude about LGBT people getting married. Today was fantastic. Gorgeous day, just absolutely gorgeous, good crowd. We had some really, really great top performers. Billy Bradford, Molly, Dave, Janice Kitzmiller. They did a fantastic job. We had a lot of people who signed on, did great fundraising online for the event. And every year it gets a little bigger, a little better. So it's a lot of fun. The latest status of the case is our opposition turned in their briefs. The number one issue is whether they have standing. Imperial County has tried to get standing, and there's questionable standing on the part of the actual defendants in the trial. There are rules in the court about who can bring a lawsuit. The person has to have an actual, or the organization has to have an actual, real interest in the outcome. And it has to be a direct interest, not just a, gee whiz, we think this is an important issue. The city has direct interest because of the cost to government of not being able to, of their constituents not being able to get married. The plaintiffs, couples who couldn't get married, obviously have a very direct interest. The groups that are our opponents do not, they're the Prop 8 proponents who put the measure on the ballot. But once that became law, they are no longer the proper party to defend that law. It's the state, because now it's a state law. So it's the job of the Attorney General, the governor, to defend the law once it's enacted. They've declined to do so because they believe it's unconstitutional, and they've been very upfront about saying that. So the big issue, one of the big issues, is going to be whether there's even a standing to appeal. The second issue, obviously, is the constitutionality of Proposition 8. Well, the standing is a key issue in this case because Judge Walker found that the proponents of Prop 8 did not have standing, but he permitted them to put on their case just so that their side of the issue could be heard. But he was very clear, both during the trial and in his opinion, that they lack standing to appeal. They had more witnesses who were deposed, and several of those witnesses dropped out and declined to testify. Some of them were not good witnesses for that side, and so they, for one reason or another, chose not to put them on, and they ended up with these two experts from Canada who are experts on the issue of marriage and marriage needing to be between a man and a woman and how that's optimal and all those things. It turned out that one of their witnesses was one of our best witnesses, because when he was asked, would being able to get married benefit LGBT couples and their children, he said yes, absolutely. He was asked, I think, by the Prop 8 people to be a proponent on the ballot and to write on the ballot description, because partially to bring in the Asian community. And I think he's a strong anti-marriage proponent, but he's a little fringe in terms of being presentable, I think. And it was interesting, I think he presented his materials at the deposition in Chinese. What he didn't know was that the city had one of their employees translate the document. And so it was a pretty nasty document. And they were able to read it and ask him questions about it, and that surprised him a bit. We're working on something that we loosely call the Animus Project, which is gathering evidence of animus. Because underlying this constitutionality at the federal level is that if a law is passed because of animus, because of hatred, then it's unconstitutional. And so we're gathering evidence also just for Marriage Equality USA. So people who get handouts, who have incidents and so forth, can contact us, and we're going to start gathering them and get them up on our website with contra arguments. What the The proponents of Prop 8 have filed their brief. That was last week. We're working, the city and the plaintiffs are working on their reply briefs. Right now, they have to be filed next week. And, nothing new in the proponents' briefs, all the same stuff. Procreation, optimal for children, all of those arguments, and saying them in a dozen different ways. But that's where we are right now. These briefs will be filed. I think the many emails that you're getting are amicus briefs. Those are called amicus friend of the court. So these are organizations, individuals who have an interest in the outcome, don't have standing, but the court permits them to weigh in and give their opinion. And it's very valuable. We had many amicus briefs in the state Supreme Court, and it did influence. It does give them support for coming to a decision when they see churches, legal groups, politicians, a really big range of supporters of marriage, and in the other case, not supporters of marriage. But I think your emails are the amicus briefs. That'll probably be a panel of 3 judges. We don't know who they'll be, and they will hear argument from the plaintiffs, and I don't know when they will decide the standing issue, probably before oral argument on the underlying issue. It's a good question, but the answer is it's an issue of equality. Whether or not you believe that marriage is a good institution, whether or not you want to marry, or you care about marriage, and many people don't. Many people just live together and have a family, and they don't partake in the civil union side of marriage. But it is probably in the majority of the minds of Americans the thing that you aim for and want all your life, and it's denied to LGBT people. Well, it's a public service, it's a fundamental right that's denied to a group of people. It's an equality issue. And so it has really, in my mind, not a whole lot to do with whether you want to marry or whether you think it's a good institution. And I know also many people who don't believe in the military. Yet we do need the right to serve openly in the military, again, because it's a distinguished opportunity in the minds of many Americans, and we're denied the opportunity to take part in that openly.